You have been lied to about surrender, deceived into believing that letting go means defeat, that release equals failure, that trust in timing reveals weakness. The world taught you to grip, to force, to wrestle reality into submission, and called this strength. But what if the very thing you call strength is actually the most profound form of spiritual cowardice? Every white-knuckled grasp, every desperate attempt to control outcomes, every sleepless night spent orchestrating tomorrow, this is not power. This is terror disguised as determination. You have been conditioned to mistake anxiety for ambition, to confuse the frantic clutching of the drowning man with the steady stroke of the swimmer. The universe moves in rhythms older than your fear, deeper than your need to know, more patient than your urgency. Yet there you stand, small and trembling, trying to conduct an infinite symphony with finite hands. You call this responsibility. You call this caring. But the river knows better. The river knows that rocks, which refuse to be moved by the current, are not stronger. They are simply more broken when the flood finally comes. What if everything you think you know about holding on is actually a masterclass in how to suffer? What if your grip itself is the prison, and the key has been in your open palm all along? What if the very act of clenching your fist around your desires is what pushes them furthest from your reach? Look around you. Everything you see that is beautiful, everything that works, everything that flows with grace. None of it was forced into being by anxious hands. The morning doesn't push the sun across the sky. The ocean doesn't demand the moon pull its tides. The heart doesn't command the lungs to breathe. There is a deeper intelligence at work here, one that makes your most desperate efforts look like a child trying to help a butterfly emerge by tearing open its cocoon. From your first breath, they taught you that love means possession, that care requires control, that if you truly want something you must make it happen, force it into being, bend the world to your will. Your parents clutched you close and called it protection. Your teachers demanded results and called it preparation. Your culture worshipped the ones who took what they wanted and called them heroes. But underneath this conditioning lies a deeper programming, the fear that the universe is fundamentally hostile, that left to its own devices, reality will disappoint you, abandon you, destroy everything you hold dear. So you learned to be the guardian against chaos, the one who makes things happen, the controller of outcomes. You learned that trust is naive, that patience is passive, that surrender is suicide. This is why your body carries so much tension. This is why your mind races through endless scenarios of catastrophe. This is why your heart has forgotten how to rest. You have been fighting a war against the very force that created you, struggling against the current that could carry you home. Every relationship you've tried to manage, every outcome you've attempted to guarantee, every future you've tried to secure, all of it born from the fundamental lie that you are separate from the intelligence that moves the stars, that beats your heart, that grows the grass without your consultation or concern. The pain in your chest when things don't go as planned, that is not the pain of failure. That is the pain of a clenched fist held too long, of a soul cramped from carrying burdens that were never yours to bear. That exhaustion you feel at the end of each day, that is not the tiredness of meaningful work. That is the depletion that comes from swimming against a current that was designed to carry you forward. Consider how you learned this madness. Watch a child before they are taught to fear disappointment. See how naturally they release one toy, to pick up another. How easily they move from tears to laughter, how completely they trust that their needs will be met. They have not yet learned that letting go is dangerous, that trust is foolish, that control is safety. But you learned that letting your guard down invites catastrophe. You learned that loosening your grip means losing everything. You learned that the universe is a hostile force that must be managed, manipulated, outsmarted. You learned to mistake the exhaustion of constant vigilance for the satisfaction of being responsible. Ancient wisdom speaks of Wu Wei, the action of non-action, the power that moves without forcing, the strength that accomplishes without striving. This is not passivity. This is participation in the deepest current of existence, the recognition that individual will and cosmic will need not be enemies, but can dance as partners in the eternal choreography of becoming. The universe unfolds according to principles that preceded your birth and will outlast your death. Seasons change without your permission. Hearts beat without your instruction. Wounds heal without your supervision. There is an intelligence at work here that makes your most brilliant plans look like children's drawings compared to the Sistine Chapel. To trust the universe's timing is not to become passive. It is to become porous. It is to stop being a rock in the river and become the river itself. It is to recognize that your deepest desires and the universe's deepest intentions are not opposing forces, but the same force expressing itself through the beautiful paradox of individual consciousness. This requires a fundamental shift in identity, from the one who makes things happen to the one through whom things happen, from the author of your story to the conscious participant in a story being written by hands far more skilled than yours. From the controller of outcomes to the celebrant of unfolding. The mystics knew this secret. The ego that must control everything controls nothing, while the soul that releases everything receives everything. Not because the universe rewards surrender, but because surrender dissolves the illusion of separation between you and the universe. Think of how a master musician plays. They do not fight the instrument or force the notes. They become so attuned to the music that their fingers move as extensions of the melody itself. The music plays through them, not because they have abdicated skill, but because their skill has become so refined that it transcends effort and enters the realm of grace. This is what trust looks like when it matures beyond hope into knowing. This is what letting go becomes when it evolves beyond resignation into participation. This is what timing reveals itself to be when you stop trying to impose your schedule on eternity and start discovering your place in the eternal schedule. There is a different kind of strength, one that flows from trust rather than terror, from abundance rather than scarcity, from connection rather than control. This strength does not grip, it receives. It does not force, it allows. It does not demand, it dances. Imagine the sun. It does not chase the flowers demanding they bloom. It simply shines and the flowers turn toward its light of their own accord. This is the power of aligned action. Effort that flows from fullness rather than emptiness, desire that emerges from love rather than fear, movement that follows the deepest currents rather than fighting against them. When you release your death grip on outcomes, something miraculous happens. Space opens. In that space, possibilities you never imagined can take root. Solutions you never considered can emerge. Gifts you never expected can arrive. The very thing you were trying to force into being through control reveals itself naturally when you create the conditions for its emergence through trust. This is not naive optimism. This is sophisticated faith. Faith based not on wishful thinking but on direct experience of how life actually works when you stop working against it. Rivers carve canyons not through force but through persistence and surrender to gravity. Trees grow tall not by pulling themselves upward, but by reaching simultaneously toward sun and earth, trusting both the light above and the darkness below. You too can learn this double movement, rooting deep into trust while reaching high into possibility, holding your desires lightly while pursuing them fully, caring passionately while attaching loosely. This is the art of sacred participation in your own becoming. The new virtue is not the virtue of the martyr who sacrifices everything, but the virtue of the river that gives everything while losing nothing, that shapes everything while forcing nothing, that arrives everywhere by flowing always toward the sea. Watch how differently you move through the world when you carry this understanding. Notice how your breathing deepens when you remember that you are not responsible for managing the entire universe. Feel how your shoulders drop when you realize that your job is not to make everything work out perfectly, but to show up fully to whatever is actually happening. This strength does not come from building walls against uncertainty. It comes from becoming so fluid that uncertainty cannot break you. It does not come from having all the answers. It comes from becoming comfortable with the questions. It does not come from controlling all outcomes. It comes from trusting the intelligence that dreams all outcomes into being. When you act from this place, your efforts become offerings rather than attempts. Your desires become prayers rather than demands. Your timing aligns with a rhythm larger than your personal urgency, and paradoxically, everything you truly need finds its way to you with an ease that makes your previous struggles look like elaborate forms of self-torture. But even this trust must die. Even this surrender must be surrendered. Even this new way of being must be held lightly, or it becomes another form of control, another identity to defend, another cage painted in prettier colors. The deepest teaching is this: all virtues are temporary costumes worn by the eternal soul. Trust the universe's timing, yes, but do not make a religion of trust. Flow with the current, yes, but do not worship the river. Let go of control, yes, but do not grasp letting go as the ultimate achievement. There comes a time when even the one who has learned to trust must enter the silence beyond trust, the stillness beyond flow, the emptiness beyond even surrender. This is the sacred pause where all identities dissolve, the controller and the surrenderer, the one who grips and the one who releases, the one who forces and the one who allows. In this silence, something deeper than wisdom emerges. In this stillness, something more fundamental than trust reveals itself. In this emptiness, the false division between you and the universe collapses entirely, revealing what was always already true. There never was anyone to let go. Nothing to release, no universe separate from you to trust. This death of even your most enlightened self is not the end. It is the space in which authentic life can finally begin. Like seeds that must die to become flowers, like winter that must come before spring, like the darkness that must precede each dawn. This dissolution is not punishment, but preparation for a deeper flowering. The great paradox reveals itself here. The one who learns to let go perfectly discovers that there was never anyone holding on. The one who masters trust realizes that separation was always an illusion. The one who surrenders completely finds that there was never anything to surrender to. From this silence you emerge not as one who has learned to trust the universe's timing, but as an expression of that timing itself. Not as one who practices letting go, but as the very space in which letting go happens. Not as one who flows with the current, but as a conscious eddy in the infinite river of becoming. This is the final secret. What you thought was your individual journey toward surrender was actually the universe's way of recognizing itself through the temporary lens of your experience. Your struggles with control were the cosmic intelligence exploring the beauty of seeming separation. Your eventual release was the eternal returning to itself through the doorway of your apparent individual awakening. Even now, as you contemplate these words, that same intelligence is contemplating itself through your eyes, questioning itself through your questions, awakening to itself through your awakening. The one reading these words and the source of these words are the same awareness appearing to itself as both teacher and student, both question and answer, both the one who lets go and that into which everything is released. The invitation before you is simple and profound. Release your grip on this very moment, not later, when you have figured out how, not tomorrow when you feel ready. Now, as you read these words, let your shoulders drop. Let your jaw soften. Let your plans loosen their hold on your heart. If these words have found their mark, if something in your soul recognizes the truth being spoken here, commit to this recognition by writing in the comments, "I trust the timing that brought me here." Let this statement be your bridge from understanding to embodying, from knowing to becoming. The universe has been conspiring to bring you to this exact moment of recognition. Your resistance has been perfect resistance. Your control has been perfect control. Your readiness to release has been perfectly timed. Even your doubt about letting go is part of the perfect unfolding of your awakening to trust. What wants to be released through you today? What outcome have you been wrestling from the hands of mystery? What future have you been trying to guarantee at the cost of missing the gift being offered right now? The river of your life knows where it's going. Your job is not to push it upstream, but to become so transparent that the current can flow through you without obstruction. This is not loss, this is the ultimate finding. This is not defeat. This is victory so complete that even the victor dissolves into the victory itself. Notice how perfectly this moment has been arranged. Notice how these specific words found their way to your awareness at precisely the instant you were ready to receive them. Notice how your entire life has been a curriculum designed to bring you to this understanding, this choice, this recognition. The people who disappointed you, they were teaching you that others cannot be controlled. The plans that fell apart. They were showing you that your timing and the universe's timing danced to different rhythms. The losses you've grieved. They were preparing space for gifts you couldn't have imagined when your hands were full of lesser treasures. Even your patterns of control were perfectly orchestrated experiences, designed to exhaust your ego's illusion of power until you became willing to discover the deeper power that emerges only through surrender. Even your failures at letting go were necessary lessons in learning to let go, even of your need to let go perfectly. Watch how the next video appears in your feed at exactly the right moment. Notice how these words found you precisely when you needed to hear them. Trust that what comes next will be equally perfect, equally timed, equally designed for your deepest flourishing. The universe's timing is not separate from your timing. You are not waiting for the universe to catch up to your desires. You are learning to recognize that your deepest desires are the universe's way of calling itself home through the beautiful vessel of your individual existence. Let go. Not because you are weak, but because you are finally strong enough to stop pretending you were ever in control. Trust. Not because you are naive, but because you are finally wise enough to recognize the intelligence that has been moving your life all along. The timing is perfect. It always has been. It always will be. Including this moment of recognition, including this breath, including this release, including whatever comes next in the eternal dance of letting go and receiving, of dying and being reborn, of surrendering the smaller self so that the larger self can finally come home to itself through you.